The day was chilly, a whisper of fall breezing through the air, as I stood in front of the door that Olivia always kept locked. My wife's home office was a sanctuary she guarded like a secret vault. Over the years, Olivia's obsessive need for privacy had gnawed at my curiosity. Today, with her out on one of her frequent business trips, I decided that the mystique of that locked door would end. As I turned the key, found hidden under a stack of old tax returns in our bedroom, I felt my heart pound with a mix of dread and anticipation. The click of the lock seemed louder than a gunshot in the silent house. Pushing the door open, the sight that greeted me was nothing like I had imagined. The walls, once I assumed were lined with bookshelves and files, were plastered with photographs. But these were not normal decorations or fond memories of us, they were all of her older brother, Michael. Some photos were from their childhood, but many were recent. Olivia, smiling beside Michael at a recent family reunion, Michael at his graduation, snapshots I had never seen, pictures taken during times she'd told me she was alone on work trips. Stunned, I stepped further into the room. The desk was clean, except for a diary lying open as if waiting for me. The words on the page caught my eye: "Michael is the only one who ever truly understands me. I wish." The rest was a blur as I flipped through pages filled with confessions of her feelings for him, her emotional turmoil, her lack of love for me. "Why, Olivia?" The word slipped from my lips, a whisper lost in the sea of betrayal. I spent hours in that room, each photograph, each entry in her diary building a crescendo of betrayal. She didn't love me, she never did. It was always Michael, her brother, who held her heart. The fury built up like a storm inside me. Olivia had deceived me, made me a fool in a loveless marriage. But I wasn't going to be the victim of this twisted reality. I started by sending copies of her diary pages to everyone we knew, her parents, our friends, her colleagues. Let them see the true Olivia, obsessed, not with her husband, but her own brother. Then, I drained our joint accounts. After all, financial security was something she prized above all else. When she returned, the confrontation was inevitable. "Olivia, you need to see your office," I said, the coldness in my voice a stark contrast to the chaos of emotions inside me. "What did you do?" Her voice was shaky as she pushed past me into her sanctum, her eyes widening in horror at the empty walls, stripped of her secret obsession. "I freed you, Olivia." "Freed us both," I said, my words slicing through the tension. She fell to her knees, sobbing, her world unraveling just as mine had hours before. "How could you?" "How could I not?" I replied, my decision cemented in my heart. The divorce was swift. Olivia didn't fight it, perhaps the exposure of her secret shame was too much to bear. As for me, walking away was the easiest part. I had lived a lie for too long. Now, standing outside the home we once shared, I felt the first true breath of freedom. Olivia was behind me, a chapter closed forever. But as I walked away, I knew the intrigue of my life was just beginning. The divorce papers were stark, clinical, yet they burned hotter than the embers of our shattered marriage. It had been a month since Olivia left, and the quiet of the house was suffocating, a relentless reminder of the duplicity that had lived here with me. I decided that my retribution was incomplete, the personal fallout was extensive, but Olivia's professional reputation remained untarnished. That needed to change. I began meticulously crafting anonymous tips to her employer, suggesting financial discrepancies linked to her department. It was a risky move, but I knew the company's recent audit troubles would make them skittish, eager to root out any hints of further impropriety. Meanwhile, I didn't realize that my actions were about to spiral beyond my control. One evening, as I plotted my next move, a knock at the door startled me. Standing there, under the dim porch light, was Michael, Olivia's brother. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice strained, I searching mine for some sign of the brother-in-law he once knew. I stepped aside, wary. "About?" Michael sighed, taking a seat on the sofa. "About what you've done to Olivia. She's broken, James. And now, rumors at her work. Are you behind that?" The accusation in his eyes was sharp. "She deserved it. She never loved me, Michael. Your sister was obsessed with you. How could you not know? He rubbed his face, stress etching deep lines. I didn't. But this isn't the way, James. Ruining her won't bring you peace. It's not about peace, I shot back, my voice hard as flint. It's about justice. For all the years I lived a lie. Michael stood, his stature imposing. And what about the truth, James? Will you face your own truths if you tear down hers? I laughed, bitter and cold. What truth? That I was a fool? No, that you still love her, Michael countered quietly, turning to leave. Think about that. His words struck a chord, but I was too far gone to admit it. I watched him go, my resolve hardening. I returned to my plans, escalating my efforts. Within days, the rumors I had planted took root, leading to an official investigation at Olivia's firm. The fallout was immediate and devastating. Olivia was suspended, pending the outcome. The news reached me not through corporate channels, but through a mutual friend who called to berate me. James, you've gone too far. They're talking lawsuits now. Olivia is a wreck, and you're just piling on. Is this who you are? Their words echoed in my mind, unheeded. I was determined to see this through, to ensure Olivia paid for every moment of deceit. As I sat alone that night, the weight of my actions began to press down on me. Had Michael been right? Was this vendetta transforming me into someone unrecognizable? These questions haunted me, swirling around like specters in the dark. I had set out to expose Olivia, to punish her for her emotional betrayal. But as the shadows grew longer and the silence in the house deepened, I realized that this retribution might have cost me more than I was willing to pay. The justice I sought felt hollow, tainted by the destruction left in its wake. The storm of my own making was in full swing. Olivia's professional life was crumbling, and with each passing day, the impact of my actions weighed heavier on me. The isolation of our once shared home became suffocating. Sleep was a stranger, and the silence was filled with the echoes of our past laughter, now twisted into mocking taunts by my relentless vendetta. One crisp morning, I was interrupted by a sharp rap at the door. Expecting another confrontation, I steeled myself, but it was Olivia who stood there, her eyes red-rimmed, her posture defeated. James, she started, her voice cracking, we need to talk. Reluctantly, I stepped aside, allowing her into the home she once filled with warmth. We sat at opposite ends of the dining table, a battlefield laid bare. Why are you doing this? She asked, her hands trembling. You destroyed everything. Was the divorce not enough? I met her gaze, the familiar pain and betrayal bubbling up. You lied to me for years, Olivia. How could you expect me to just walk away unscathed? Her lips quivered. I never meant to hurt you. I was confused, lost in my emotions. But I never cheated, James. My feelings for Michael, they were complicated, wrong, but I never acted on them. Can't you see the difference? The room seemed to close in as her words sank in. Had my quest for retribution been based on a misinterpretation? A misguided perception of her emotional turmoil? Complicated? I echoed, bitterness seeping through. You made me feel like a placeholder in your life. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, James. I truly am. I wish I could undo the pain I caused you. The sincerity in her voice pierced the armor I had built around my heart. But the damage was done, and the path of destruction I had chosen had changed us both irrevocably. You can't undo this, Olivia. You're suspended, and there's talk of legal action. Even if you're innocent, the rumors won't stop. She nodded slowly, resignation etching her features. I know. And I'm not here to ask for forgiveness or to stop what you've set in motion. I'm here to ask you to let go of the hate, for your own sake. Her plea hung between us, a fragile truce offering. I looked away, complicity swirling within me. Why should I? The question was more to myself than to her. Because it's consuming you, James. I can see it. This isn't you. The conversation dragged on, each word laden with sorrow and regret. As she left, something shifted inside me. The facade of vindication began to crumble, exposing the futility of my actions. That night, as the loneliness crept back in, I realized the depth of my own entanglement in the web of vengeance. The revenge I thought would bring relief had only multiplied my torments, turning me into a shadow of the man I once was. As the days turned into weeks, my resolve began to weaken. Olivia's words haunted me, echoing through the empty rooms. Was it too late to change course? Could I mend the bridges I had so carelessly burned? The intrigue of what could possibly come next plagued my thoughts. My actions had set into motion a chain of events that seemed irreversible. But amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope remained, a chance for redemption, not just for Olivia, but for myself as well. The relentless grip of winter mirrored the cold resolution in my heart. As I stood in the quiet of my once shared bedroom, the gravity of Olivia's plea for peace seemed like a distant echo, overshadowed by the lingering sting of betrayal. My thoughts were interrupted by a sharp ring of my phone, a number I didn't recognize. Hello? My voice was guarded, tensed for another conflict. James, it's Richard. The voice belonged to Olivia's boss. I think we need to talk. It's about Olivia, and something else. Curiosity piqued, I agreed to meet him at a quiet cafe downtown. The winter air bit at my cheeks as I made my way there, each step hardening my resolve. Richard was already there, looking unusually grave. James, thank you for coming. I'll be blunt. We've concluded our investigation into Olivia. We found no wrongdoing on her part. However, we uncovered something else, something concerning you. I stiffened. What are you talking about? He slid a folder across the table. Inside were detailed records of my anonymous tips and manipulations of their financial systems, traced back to me. You've caused a lot of damage, James. Not just to Olivia, but to the company. You're facing serious charges. The room spun slightly as I absorbed his words. Had my blind pursuit of vengeance turned me into the very monster I sought to destroy? But before I could gather my thoughts, Richard's words cut deeper. There's more. It's about Olivia and Michael. What now? I snapped, a cynical sneer twisting my lips. They aren't biological siblings, James. They were step-siblings, briefly, years ago. Their parents married when they were both adults. Their relationship, it was complicated because of this, but not in the way you think. Michael was helping her through her feelings, not reciprocating them. The revelation struck like a physical blow. My thoughts were seemed to tilt, blurring the edges of my righteous fury into a sickening portrait of misguided revenge. Olivia never knew I was going to tell you today, Richard continued. She didn't want more drama. I sat there, numb, as Richard explained the legal consequences I faced. When he left, the cafe felt colder, emptier. I wandered the city streets aimlessly, the weight of my deeds anchoring each step. The lines between justice and vengeance had blurred, and I was lost in the fog of my own wrath. Days later, as the legal battles mounted, I decided on one final act. If I was to be ruined, Olivia would not walk away unscathed either. I broke into her apartment, a plan forming, a way to ensure she could never forget me. Olivia came home to find me waiting. James, what are you doing here? You need to leave. No, Olivia. It ends tonight, I said, my voice low, menacing. Frightened, she stepped back. James, please. Think about what you're doing. I advanced, my actions cold and calculated. You took everything from me. Now, I'll take everything from you. The struggle was brief. I left her bound and gagged, the apartment set ablaze with carefully placed accelerants, her possessions, her memories, her life going up in flames. As fire trucks wailed in the distance, I watched from afar, the firelight reflecting in my tearless eyes. This was my final act, the conclusion of a saga wrought by betrayal and vengeance. Olivia survived, her spirit as broken as the charred remains of her home. We never spoke again, our paths forever divergent, marked by the scars of our mutual destruction. In the end, the hero I believed myself to be was nothing more than a villain in disguise. The surprise of my life was not the deceit I thought I had uncovered, but the depth of darkness within myself, a realization that came too late to save either of us from the devastation of hatred and betrayal.